This is the second episode. I think we're calling this little hypertough Wanda. Wanda's got a pulsar-jet engine carburetor system here that was given to me. So the engine was given to me. I've been waiting for a deck and finally got one. I paid $10 for the deck. The engine was free. I put the deck on yesterday. In the first episode, I just was prepping the deck. You can see it's a little cleaner than yesterday. Let me get my gloves. And I've mounted the deck on here. I think I checked this for compression a few weeks ago when I got it. It's missing a couple of parts. The governor spring is missing. This little carb linkage is in place. The air vane is in place. The coil is secure. There's no spark plug in it right now. I took off the engine brake spring so I could turn the flywheel, and right now it's not going to have any compression. See, there's no real resistance to that, and that's because there's no spark plug in there. So let me find a spark plug and then we'll check for compression. I always like to go into my plugs that I mean to test anyway. Let's get one of those out. A lot of people think that these spark plugs need to be changed all the time in mowers, and they don't. Sometimes they'll go bad, but I've had mowers come in that were 20 and 30 years old and the spark plugs are fine. This is a good example right here. This is a really old spark plug. You can tell it's a Champion J19 LM. That would probably be okay. Let me see what else I got in here. So here's an Autolite 458, which is correct for an Autolite spark plug. So let's check out this little Autolite. The gap on this needs to be about 0.031. Let me get my gap gauge and make sure that is correct. Got a couple of these and I'm always marking things with flagging so I can keep up with them. Like I put flagging on the tube of my carburetor cleaner because it's always popping out, and then I lose it out in the grass when I'm working on one outside. So, okay, that is definitely more than 0.031. So let me tap on that a little. See if that brought it down some. Yeah, that did. Ease that on over. It kind of stretches it out a little bit, so now we'll see. Yep, so that's about 0.030, 0.031. That's about right where you want it. If this thing doesn't spark right or run right, then I'll come back and try a different spark plug. But I go through a lot of spark plugs working on mowers, and a lot of them are just fine, even if they're old. All right, so that's good. All right, now let's see if it's got compression. Okay, right there, hear that? And see that, how it snaps? It's hard to turn. Now it'll take off after it releases. So this thing has good compression. All right. So it's missing the tank, the carburetor, obviously, because the carburetor fits on top of that. I'll have to go into my supplies I also had to go into my supplies for a rewinder. And on this kind of Briggs rewinder, they're not all the same. You've got to have the one that has this little cutout here. And that's because the air vane needs to be able to move around in this space, okay? So that's the kind it's going to take. I'm not ready to put that on yet because I've got to work with some of this stuff. Before I go much further, let's make sure that it's got oil in it. What I try to do with my videos is just have a good time sharing information with folks who maybe have an old mower laying around in their yard that they tell themselves, hey, I'm going to fix that one day, or find out what's wrong with it. I'm trying to reach that person and say, yeah, go out there and get that old Briggs and Stratton mower. Because no matter how long it's sat out there, they're tough, they're well made, and if you can find out what to do, you might be able to get that thing running again with a little bit of help from your old buddy that works on lawnmowers, and Briggs and Stratton in particular. Okay, there's not a drop of oil in this thing. So I know it's got compression, so I'm going to think positive and assume that I can get this thing running. So I'm going to go ahead and get the right amount of oil in it. And what I do is I have a pre-filled jug. It's got exactly 16 ounces in it. And actually that's a little less. Yeah, there it is, about 16. Because these things will hold about 16 to 18 ounces, maybe more, sometimes 20, 22. But I don't want to overfill it, so that's why I go with 16. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this in there and hope it doesn't leak out or something. Nice, clean, brand new, fresh oil. And I'm hoping this thing is not, worn out, a smoker, because sometimes you can have compression, but it'll smoke like crazy because it's worn out. And it has compression, but not enough to not be burning oil. Okay, so we got that in there. That's about 16 ounces. So I'm going to see where that is on the dipstick. You never, never, never want to overfill these. I think I just overfilled it. But I should have eased into that. But there's probably some oil in the bottom. Let's see what we got in here. Yeah. It looks like I overfilled it. So I'm going to try and drain some of this back off. Let me get a clean jug. Shame on me for doing that. That is too much oil, too much oil. Tip this on the side, try to get some of this oil out of there. Now, if this oil doesn't look right, like it's got water or something in it, I'll know that pretty soon. So far, it looks okay. All right, let's. Some oil come out of the carburetor, so that if I get this running, that means it's going to smoke for a while. I mean, not the carburetor, the muffler. Where'd my dipstick go? hoping I got enough off of there where it's at least close to the correct level. I can't believe it. I should have eased into that and measured it, you know, poured a little, measured, poured a little, measured. Didn't do that. Let's see where we are now. It's a little better, but I think I still got too much in there. It's called it says on the dipstick, fill and drain, but I think this, oh, that's good. That's pretty close. Let me check it one more time here. And I go slow with these mowers and share it with you guys instead of rushing through it, because to me, part of the fun is the relaxation of taking your time and doing this together. It's quiet. Let's spend some time together. Okay, I'm almost there. Let me do this one more time. A little bit too much oil in there. Here we go. Drain it up, and drain it until several good slugs that time. Glug, 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 glug. Glug, 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 glug. All right, let's see where you are now. Screwing this thing in, and that's pretty darn close. All right, let me show you where we are. And here's the dipstick and these little Briggs engines. Now this is new oil, so it's hard to see, but you can see that drop right there. And then it's wet. It's wet, 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 right up to that line. And see, there's an arrow on there. It says full. Do not overfill. That's what that says right there. Where are you? Do not overfill. So you want it below that arrow and somewhere and those little hash marks. If it gets down to that line there in really tiny print, it says add. So you could run your mower with your oil anywhere in there in those hash marks. But full topped off is right there, and that's exactly where I have it now. When I overfilled it, I had it like up in there, so I had to, you got to get that out, because that puts too much pressure on the inside of that engine, and they can even lock up from too much oil. So let me get that dipstick back in there, because it's perfect now, and the oil looked okay. I didn't see any water in it. If it's got water in it, it'll show up when it runs. It'll start to smoke because that water starts to heat up and boil, basically. And you'll know because you'll start seeing steam and stuff like that. All right, so we got the oil in there. We got us a spark plug, and that's probably enough for this segment. So stay tuned, and we're going to get us a tank on here pretty soon.